The luminary ship descended through Earth's atmosphere with grace that defied its massive size. It glowed with soft blue light as it hovered above the United Nations headquarters in New York City. People gathered in the streets below, their faces lit by the gentle radiance. Some pointed in wonder while others held their breath. No one ran. The ship did not inspire fear. It was too beautiful for that. News cameras captured the moment for billions watching around the world. The luminary had announced their arrival 3 days earlier through a transmission that somehow reached every communications device on the planet simultaneously. Their message had been simple. We come in friendship to learn and share. We are the Luminari. Inside the UN General Assembly Hall, Dr. Alan Bennett fidgeted with his tie. As Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, he had spent his career studying theoretical alien cultures. Now he would meet actual aliens. Next to him sat Navy Captain Samantha Wright, chosen to represent Earth's unified defense forces. Her posture remained perfect, but her eyes revealed the same nervousness. "Do you think they really come in peace?" she whispered. Alan shrugged. "Everything points to yes." No weapons detected on their ship. They approached slowly. Made contact before entering our atmosphere. All good signs. "Still," Samantha said, "no species crosses the stars just to make friends." The doors at the far end of the hall opened. 6 figures entered, escorted by security personnel who looked tiny beside them. The luminari stood nearly 8 feet tall. Their bodies resembled clear crystal that caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Within each crystalline form swirled colors that pulsed like gentle heartbeats. As they moved forward, a soft humming filled the room. The sound made everyone feel strangely calm. Alan recognized it as the luminary form of communication described in their initial message. Harmonic vibrations that could be felt as much as heard. The lead luminary stepped to the center of the floor. Unlike the others who glowed with blues and greens, this one shimmered with purple and gold. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in everyone's minds. "I am Ambassador Alara. We thank you for your welcome." The voice sounded neither male nor female, but carried warmth that spread through the hall. "We have traveled far to meet humanity." The Secretary General stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Alara. We are honored by your visit. May I ask why you have chosen our planet?" Ilara's colors swirled faster. "The Luminari have visited many worlds and learned from many species. We are known as peacekeepers and knowledge sharers. But your world calls to us in a unique way." Alan leaned forward, hanging on every word. "Humans fascinate us," Ilara continued. "In our observations from afar, we have seen something remarkable. You contain contradictions that no other species manages to hold. You create beauty and destruction. You wage war, yet strive for peace. You compete ruthlessly, yet sacrifice for strangers. This paradox within your nature, we wish to understand." Murmurs spread through the assembly hall. Alan caught Samantha's eye. She looked as surprised as he felt. The Secretary General nodded thoughtfully. "And what do you propose?" "We request a cultural exchange. 6 luminari wish to live among humans for 3 standard months. In return, we offer agricultural techniques that could end your food shortages and clean energy technology that would benefit your environment." The proposal sparked immediate debate. Some representatives raised security concerns, while others argued about which countries would host the visitors. Through it all, the luminari stood silently, their colors pulsing, gently. After hours of discussion, a plan emerged. The 6 luminari would split up to experience different aspects of human life. Ambassador Ilara would work with Dr. Bennett at the United Nations. Another would join Captain Wright aboard the naval vessel USS Horizon. The others would experience academic life, rural living, and urban environments. When the session ended, Alan approached Ilara. Up close, the crystalline being towered over him. Within the transparent body, he could see structures that might be organs, all flowing with light. "Ambassador, I have so many questions," he said. "As do we, Dr. Bennett," Ilara replied. "In 32 prior cultural exchanges, we have never requested more than a few days of contact. Yet with humans, we feel a need for deeper understanding. What makes us so different? Alara's colors darkened briefly. Most species we encounter are consistent. Predator species remain aggressive. Herd species prioritize group harmony. But humans, you can be both predator and protector, often in the same moment. This ability to hold opposing forces in balance is unknown elsewhere in the galaxy. Alan smiled. We just call that being human. Perhaps after 3 months among you, we will understand what that truly means. Captain Wright joined them. Ambassador, the Luminari joining my ship, should I prepare anything special? Zephyra requires nothing but space to absorb solar energy and opportunities to observe. Though, Alara paused, colors flickering briefly. She may find military operations disturbing at first. The Luminari have not engaged in warfare for 12,000 years. 12,000 years without war. Samantha looked impressed. How is that possible? We evolved beyond it, Alara said simply. Violence serves no logical purpose when cooperation yields better results for all. Alan noticed something in Alara's tone. Not quite curiosity, but perhaps interest. Does our capacity for violence frighten you? The Luminari do not experience fear as you do, Alara replied. We observe, we learn, we understand. Your violence is simply another aspect to study. Later that evening, as the sun set over New York, Alan watched from his office window as the Luminari ship shrank to a distant point of light, settling into orbit. The delegates had returned to collect supplies before beginning their 3-month stay. What do you really think? Samantha asked, joining him at the window. I think we're about to learn as much about ourselves as they learn about us, he replied. Neither of them could have predicted how profound those lessons would be, or how deeply they would transform their peaceful visitors. On the ship, Alara communicated with the Luminari Council of Harmony back on their home world. The preparations are complete, Alara transmitted. We begin our immersion tomorrow. Proceed with caution, came the reply. Remember, our purpose is only to observe and understand. Of course, Alara responded. What else could possibly happen in 3 months? As the transmission ended, Alara gazed down at the blue planet below. For a brief moment, the ambassador's usually calm colors flickered with an emotion no Luminari had felt in millennia: anticipation. 1 month had passed since the Luminari began living among humans. The changes were subtle at first, barely noticeable even to the humans who worked closely with them. But they were happening all the same. Aboard the USS Horizon, Luminari delegate, Zephyra floated near the observation deck, her crystalline body catching the morning sunlight. Captain Samantha Wright approached with 2 cups of coffee, offering one to Lieutenant Greg Powell, who monitored the alien visitor. How is our guest today? Samantha asked. Greg sipped his coffee. Different. When she first came aboard, she would leave the room during combat drills, said the aggressive energy disturbed her harmonics. Now she watches everything, takes notes. Yesterday she asked me to explain torpedo guidance systems. Samantha raised an eyebrow. That doesn't sound like the peace-loving aliens we were introduced to. Maybe she's just being thorough in her cultural study, Greg suggested. They watched, as Zephyra drifted toward a group of sailors practicing hand-to-hand combat. Her usual blue-green glow had deepened to something closer to teal. When one sailor flipped another onto the mat, Zephyra's body pulsed with light. Efficient use of leverage, Zephyra commented, her voice creating gentle vibrations in the air. May I see that movement again? Across the country at Berkeley University, Professor Frank Miller walked with Luminari delegate Toran through the history department. Toran's crystal form towered over the professor, drawing stares from passing students. You've gone through our entire military history section, Frank said. I thought your people were interested in our art and philosophy too. All aspects of humanity interest us, Toran replied. His voice had changed over the weeks. The musical quality remained, but certain notes seemed sharper now. But your conflicts reveal the most about you, particularly how smaller forces defeat larger ones. They entered Frank's office where books covered every surface. Torin moved to a shelf and removed a volume on guerrilla warfare. "This concept fascinates me," Torin said. "The weaker side using knowledge of environment and asymmetric tactics to overcome superior strength. No other species we've encountered thinks this way." "What do other species do when faced with stronger opponents?" Frank asked. "They submit or flee," Torin said simply. "The idea of the strategically weaker side winning is uniquely human." Frank noticed that Torin's normally transparent body had developed faint amber streaks. When he pointed this out, Torin seemed surprised. "Our bodies reflect our learning," he explained. "New knowledge creates new patterns." In rural Nebraska, the Garcia family had grown used to their unusual guest. Luminari delegate Voros helped on their farm, his crystalline hands gentle with plants and animals alike. 8-year-old Lisa Garcia had appointed herself Voros's official human guide. "Why did you build that fence yesterday?" Lisa asked as they walked the property line. "Mom said it was weird." Voros looked down at the child. His crystal body had developed swirling patterns that mimicked the tall grass around them. "Your family has valuable resources, crops, animals, equipment, yet minimal defenses," Voros said. "The new structure integrates natural materials with strategic positioning. It keeps dangerous animals out while remaining hidden from road view. It's just a fence," Lisa said, confused. "No," Voros replied. "It is protection that does not appear threatening. This is something humans do that my people never considered necessary." That evening, Joe Garcia called his wife Susan to the window. Voros stood in the field under the moonlight. The alien's body seemed to be changing shape slightly, sharp edges forming where there had been only smooth curves before. "Should we report that?" Susan whispered. Joe shook his head. "The scientists said these aliens change to adapt to their environments. He's probably just adjusting to Nebraska." At the United Nations, Dr. Alan Bennett reviewed weekly reports about each luminary delegate. Ambassador Alara floated near his desk, her purple-gold form casting warm light across his papers. "Your colleagues report behavioral changes in all delegates," Alan said carefully. "Is this normal during your cultural exchanges?" "We are adaptive beings," Alara replied. "We absorb and reflect what we experience." "Yes, but Zephyra is studying weapon systems. Tehran reads nothing but war history. Voros built a hidden security perimeter around the Garcia farm. These seem like significant shifts for a pacifist species." Ilara's colors swirled faster. "Are you concerned we are becoming dangerous, Dr. Bennett?" "I'm concerned you're not getting an accurate picture of humanity. We're not all about defense and conflict. Yet you prepare for threats constantly," Ilara observed. "Your homes have locks. Your nations have militaries. Your computer systems have firewalls. Even your bodies have immune systems designed to attack invaders." Alan frowned. "That's just sensible precaution." "Precisely," Ilara said. "Humans don't just respond to threats, you anticipate them. This anticipation shapes your entire civilization, in ways we never considered." Later that day, the 6 Luminari connected through a secure communication channel for their weekly discussion. No humans were present, but recording devices captured their conversation for later analysis. "My observations suggest humans channel their aggressive instincts into preparation rather than actual violence," Zephyra reported. "Their weapons are primarily deterrents. Their history shows consistent patterns," Toran added. "Those who prepare for conflict while appearing peaceful tend to survive longest." "The rural family I observe uses subtle defenses," Voros said. "Natural barriers, community connections, stored resources, strength hidden beneath apparent vulnerability." Ambassador Alara considered these observations. "Our species achieved peace by evolving beyond aggression. Humans appear to achieve a different kind of peace by mastering aggression and using it selectively." "Is this not more efficient?" Zephyra asked, her tone carrying harmonics that would have shocked the Luminary Council. Back home, a silence fell over their communication. Then Ilara spoke words that would later be seen as the beginning of their transformation. "Perhaps there is wisdom in understanding the defensive mind. not to use it, but to comprehend it fully. Unknown to the luminary, Dr. Bennett listened to the recording afterward with growing concern. The aliens' crystalline bodies were changing color and shape. Their harmonious speech contained new discordant notes. Their interest had narrowed to focus on human security and strategy. He placed a call to Captain Wright aboard the USS Horizon. "Sam, have you noticed physical changes in Zephyra?" Darker coloration, sharper edges, and yesterday she asked to observe a tactical exercise from the command center instead of the visitor area. Alan sighed. The Council of Harmony on their homeworld sent a message today. They're concerned about the reports. They want the delegation to return immediately. What did Alara say? That's the strange part. She convinced them that leaving now would waste a valuable opportunity to understand humanity fully. She insisted they stay the full 3 months. Neither human said what they were thinking, that the luminari who left Earth might be very different from those who had arrived. Meanwhile, in her private chamber, Ambassador Alara studied her reflection. The smooth crystal of her form now contained angled facets that caught light differently. Her once transparent body had developed opaque areas that could shield her inner light when needed. Adaptation, she whispered to herself. Not corruption, adaptation. Her reflection offered no reassurance as new patterns continued to form within her changing body. 2 months into the exchange program, the changes in the luminary had become impossible to ignore. Dr. Alan Bennett stood in his office at the UN, staring at side-by-side images on his tablet. The first showed Ambassador Alara on arrival day, her form translucent and flowing with gentle curves glowing with soft purple-gold light. The second showed Alara yesterday, her crystalline body now partially opaque with distinct angular planes, the light within pulsing with deeper, more intense colors. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Captain Samantha Wright entered, looking tired. "I flew in from the Horizon as soon as I got your message," she said. "How bad is it?" Alan handed her the tablet. "See for yourself. All 6 delegates show similar transformations. The Luminary Council has sent 3 urgent messages, demanding their immediate return. And Alara's response? She keeps saying they need the full 3 months to complete their understanding." Alan ran a hand through his hair. "I'm worried we've corrupted them somehow." Samantha flipped through more comparison photos. "Zephyra has completely changed. She used to leave the room when we ran combat drills. Yesterday she suggested tactical improvements to our anti-missile defense systems. Good ones too, our engineers are implementing them." The door opened again, and Ambassador Alara entered. Both humans tried not to stare at her transformed appearance. Her once flowing movements now seemed more deliberate and precise. The harmonics of her voice had shifted, the soothing tones now underlaid with resonances that made the humans slightly uneasy. "You are concerned about us," Alara stated. "It wasn't a question. Your people were known throughout the galaxy as perfect pacifists," Alan said carefully. "Now you're studying weapons, tactics, and defense systems. Your physical forms are changing. Your own council seems alarmed." Alara moved to the window overlooking New York City. "When we arrived, I told you humans fascinate us because you contain contradictions. Now we are experiencing our own contradiction." "Which is?" Samantha asked. "That to truly understand peace, one must understand conflict." Alara turned to face them. "My people abandoned aggression so long ago that we became vulnerable to it. We never considered that pacifism without the capacity for self-defense is not peace. It is simply helplessness." Alan exchanged a worried glance with Samantha. "What exactly are your delegates learning?" "Zephyra studies not just your weapons, but when you choose to use them and more importantly when you choose not to," Alara explained. "Torin explores how smaller forces can resist larger ones without ethical compromise. Voros learns how your rural families protect what they love without becoming consumed by fear." "And what are you learning, Ambassador?" Samantha asked quietly. Ilara's colors darkened. "I am learning that sometimes the threat of force achieves peace more effectively than endless dialogue. The conversation was interrupted by a call on Alan's secure line. Professor Frank Miller's worried face appeared on the screen. "Alan, we have a situation with Torin," Frank said, his voice tense. "He's built some kind of model in my lab. Military. Officials are here asking questions." "What kind of model?" Alan asked. "A tactical simulation of Earth's defense capabilities against a theoretical alien invasion. It's incredibly detailed and effective. The Pentagon wants to speak with him." After ending the call, Alan turned to find Ilara and Samantha in intense conversation. "You never mentioned other hostile alien species," Samantha was saying. "You never asked," Ilara replied. "The galaxy is mostly peaceful, but not entirely. The Luminari avoid conflict by staying in our own territory and choosing diplomatic partners carefully." "You mean you hide," Samantha said bluntly, "for the first time." Ilara's harmonics contained something that sounded like anger. "We survive. But your human perspective has shown us the weakness in our approach." Later that day, a secure video conference connected all 6 Luminari delegates with their human hosts. The changes were obvious in every delegate. Zephra's once blue-green form now shimmered with deep navy and emerald, sharp angles defining her upper body. Toran's previously clear crystal had developed amber and red patterns that pulsed with energy. Voros had somehow incorporated earthen colors into his form, making parts of him appear almost camouflaged. The Luminari spoke among themselves. First, their harmonic language too complex for human translation. Then Ilara addressed the humans. "We wish to share what we have learned from you," she said. "Each delegate has discovered something valuable about human approaches to survival." Zephra spoke first. "Humans understand that the appearance of strength often prevents the need to use it. Your military vessels rarely engage in combat, yet their presence maintains peace." Torin followed. "Your history shows that determination and strategic thinking can overcome superior force. The weaker party can prevail through intelligence and adaptability." Voros added, "Humans disguise their defenses within beautiful or ordinary things. Your farms have security systems hidden within decorative fences. Your communities protect each other without obvious displays of power." As each luminary spoke, Dr. Bennett noticed their physical forms continuing to change subtly. Their crystalline bodies seemed to be developing specialized structures, Zephra's edges becoming more reflective, Toran's internal light concentrating. In pulsing patterns, Voros's surface taking on textured areas that could blend with surroundings. Greg Powell, who had been observing Zephra aboard the USS Horizon, spoke up. "With all due respect, it sounds like you're developing military thinking. That's a big change from the peaceful species we met 2 months ago." "We remain committed to peace," Ilara assured them. "But we now understand that peace must sometimes be protected. This is the paradox humans embody that so fascinated us." After the conference ended, Joe and Susan Garcia sat in their kitchen discussing what they'd seen. "Voros looks completely different," Susan said. "Remember how he glowed so brightly when he arrived? Now he can dim his light at will." Joe nodded. "Last night I found him teaching Lisa about awareness of surroundings. He was showing her how to move quietly and notice details most people miss. Said it was a game, but it sounded like surveillance training to me." On the USS Horizon, Captain Wright found Zephra in the ship's library, studying historical naval battles. "Your people are worried about you," Samantha said. The Council of Harmony sent another message. Zephra's colors pulsed briefly. "They fear what they do not understand. We are not becoming violent. We are becoming complete." "Complete how?" "For 12,000 years, my species has embraced only half of existence. Harmony without discord, peace without strength, diplomacy without consequence. Humans have shown us the missing piece." At Berkeley, Professor Miller watched Torin work on increasingly complex strategic models. The alien's movements had become more precise, his previously flowing gestures now efficient and controlled. "Your physical form keeps changing," Frank observed. "Does it hurt?" "It is evolution, not pain," Toran replied. "We adapt to new understanding." "I'm worried that what you're understanding most is how to fight." Torin's colors flickered. Not how to fight, how to prevent fighting through preparedness. There is a difference that my people never grasped before. Dr. Bennett shared these reports with Ambassador Alara during their evening meeting. Her response troubled him deeply. Perhaps, she said, her once musical voice now carrying undertones that made him shiver slightly. The most peaceful approach is to ensure that aggressors understand the consequences of their actions before dialogue begins. When Alan pointed out how unlike the original luminary philosophy this sounded, Ilara's form darkened momentarily. We are still ourselves, Dr. Bennett. We still desire harmony above all. But now we understand what humans have always known. Sometimes, peace must be defended to endure. As he watched her leave, Alan couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy might never be the same once these transformed luminari returned home. The emergency alert blared through the United Nations building at 3:17 a.m. Dr. Alan Bennett was asleep on the couch in his office when the sound jolted him awake. His phone, computer, and tablet all lit up simultaneously with the same message. Unknown vessels entering solar system. All key personnel report immediately. Alan rushed to the crisis center where screens showed multiple objects approaching Earth at incredible speed. Military officers crowded around displays while analysts shouted updates. In the center of the chaos stood Ambassador Alara, her crystalline form now so changed that she barely resembled the being who had arrived on Earth less than 3 months ago. What's happening? Alan asked, still pulling on his jacket. General, Patricia Mills turned from a screen showing the approaching vessels. 7 ships entered our solar system 30 minutes ago. They're not responding to communications and are on direct course for Earth. Are they luminari? Alan asked Alara. The ambassador's colors darkened to deep crimson. No, they are Vrax. The name meant nothing to anyone in the room except Alara. She explained in quick, precise sentences that carried none of the musical quality her voice once had. The Vrax are raiders. They travel between systems taking resources by force. They avoid luminary space because we have little they value. If they are here, they must have detected our delegation. So they followed you to Earth? General Mills asked, her voice sharp. Likely they intercepted our transmissions home, Ilara replied. The Vrax would see both humans and luminari on one planet as an opportunity. From their perspective, 2 civilizations that do not fight must be easy targets. Captain, Samantha Wright entered the room, still in her uniform from a late-night flight from the USS Horizon. Behind her came Zephyra, the luminari's once flowing movements now precise and controlled. How much time do we have? Samantha asked. They will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours, an analyst reported. Our weapons? General Mills asked. Nothing that could stop them, Samantha said after reviewing the data. Based on their approach speed and energy signatures, they're far beyond our technology. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth faced a threat it couldn't defend against. Alan watched as the 6 luminary delegates, now all present, communicated with each other through harmonic vibrations too complex for human hearing. Ilara finally turned to the humans. We request permission to contact the Vrax. To negotiate? General Mills asked hopefully. The 6 luminari exchanged glances. Their crystalline bodies had transformed dramatically over their 3 months on Earth. Where they once glowed with gentle light, they now controlled their luminescence, parts of their bodies remaining dark. Their formerly smooth, flowing forms had developed angular planes and sharp edges. Most striking were the specialized structures that had evolved: reflective surfaces, focused light chambers, vibration amplifiers. We will communicate with them, Ilara said simply. Alan noticed she hadn't actually answered the general's question. The luminari were given access to Earth's most powerful transmission equipment in a secured room. Humans, including Alan, Samantha, and General Mills, watched through a window as the 6 aliens arranged themselves in a circle. For 10 minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, all 6 luminari began to glow with intense light, their bodies vibrating at frequencies that made the observation window rattle. Inside the transmission room, something extraordinary was happening. Each luminary contributed specialized knowledge gained during their time with humans. Zephyra, who had studied military vessels with Captain Wright, identified structural weaknesses in Vrak's ship design based on energy readings. Toran, who had absorbed human military history with Professor Miller, crafted psychological warfare elements targeting known Vrak's cultural fears. Voros, who had learned protective strategies from the Garcia family, developed a defensive plan that would use Earth's natural resources as shields. The other delegates added their own expertise, creating a complex message unlike anything the Luminari had ever sent before. When the transmission ended, the 6 emerged from the room. Their crystalline bodies dimmed to a low glow as if conserving energy. "What did you say to them?" Alan asked. "We gave them a choice," Alara replied. "What choice?" "The only one they would understand." 4 tense hours passed as the Vraks continued their approach. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Civilians in major cities were moved to shelters. The 6 luminari remained together, occasionally communicating through their harmonic language but mostly observing the humans' preparations with interest. Then, without warning, the Vraks ships changed course. The entire fleet turned and accelerated, away from Earth, leaving the solar system faster than they had arrived. The crisis center erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, cried with relief, and bombarded the luminari with questions. How had they done it? What had they said? Ambassador Alara silenced the room with a single harmonic pulse that vibrated through everyone present. We showed them images of their ships being destroyed. We demonstrated knowledge of their biological weaknesses. We explained exactly how we would target their critical systems if they continued their approach. Her voice carried no emotion. We then shared our analysis of their options and the probability of their survival in each scenario. Silence fell over the humans. "But the Luminari are peaceful," Alan said finally. "You've never fought a war in 12,000 years." "We still haven't," Alara replied. "Then what do you call this?" General Mills asked. "Effective deterrence," Zephyra answered. "We studied your military doctrine. The best victory is the one achieved without firing a single shot." Captain Wright stared at the luminari in amazement. "You bluffed? You threatened them with capabilities you don't have?" "Not exactly," Toran said. His once musical voice now contained harmonics that made humans instinctively uneasy. "We threatened them with capabilities we didn't know we had until we studied humans. The Vraks detected our transformation through our transmission. They saw we were no longer the luminari they knew. Later that night, after the celebration had died down and most people had gone home, Dr. Bennett found Ambassador Alara alone in his office. Her crystalline form was darker than he had ever seen it, with only faint light pulsing inside. "What really happened today?" he asked quietly. Ilara's colors shifted slowly. "We became what we needed to become." "And what is that exactly?" "The Luminari have always valued harmony above all else. We believed that meant avoiding conflict." She moved to the window, looking out at the night sky. "What we learned from humans is that true harmony sometimes requires showing others the cost of creating disharmony. You threatened them with extinction," Alan said. "It wasn't a question. We gave them a choice between peace and consequences," Alara corrected. "They chose wisely. And your people back home? How will they react to this new luminary philosophy?" Alara turned to face him. In the dim light, her transformed body cast angular shadows across the room. "They will resist at first," she said. "Then they will understand as we did. The galaxy is not as gentle as we pretended it was. To preserve peace, one must be capable of something else." "You're scaring me a little," Alan admitted. "Good," Alara replied. "That means you understand." Outside the window, stars twinkled peacefully in the night sky. The Vraks were gone. Earth was safe. But as Alan looked at the transformed being before him, he wondered what the Luminari would become once they returned home with their new understanding of how peace could be enforced, rather than simply hoped for. "What happens next?" he asked. "We complete our 3 months as planned," Alara said. "Then we return home to teach our people what we have learned." And what exactly have you learned from us? Alara's colors pulsed once, brightly. That the most peaceful beings in the galaxy were also the most vulnerable until now. 5 years had passed since the Luminari delegation departed Earth. Dr. Alan Bennett stood at the large window in his new office at the Interstellar Relations Department, watching ships come and go from the orbital station. Earth had changed, dramatically since the Vrax incident. The once secret existence of alien life was now common knowledge, and humanity had accelerated its space program with help from several alien civilizations. But not the Luminari. After completing their 3-month stay, the 6 delegates had returned to their home world. Their final messages promised continued friendship, but communication had quickly become sparse and then stopped entirely for nearly 3 years. Alan's reflection showed a man with more gray hair than before. Behind him, Captain Samantha Wright, now Admiral Wright, entered the office. "You've been standing there for 20 minutes, she said. "The ship won't arrive any faster if you stare at the sky." Alan smiled without turning around. 5 years. Sam. 5 years with almost no contact, and suddenly Ambassador Alara requests a meeting. Aren't you curious what they've become? Terrified is more like it, Samantha admitted. Have you seen the reports from other worlds? The Luminari have completely transformed their society. Species that never gave them a second thought now go silent when their ships appear. Alan nodded. Rumors had spread through diplomatic channels about the changed Luminari. Some said they had built a defensive fleet unlike anything seen before. Others claimed they had developed technologies that could disable any weapon without firing a shot. The peaceful species that once hid in their own territory now patrolled trade routes and established clear boundaries that no one dared cross. They're not aggressive, Alan said. Not a single report of them attacking anyone, just present, watchful. Exactly, Samantha replied. Everyone's afraid of them precisely because they don't have to do anything. They just exist differently. Now, their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the orbital station. The Luminari vessel had arrived and was requesting permission to dock. Unlike the beautiful glowing ship that had first visited Earth, this vessel was sleek and partially transparent. Its crystalline hull shimmered with controlled energy that revealed little of its interior. As it approached the station, nearby ships moved aside without being asked. 2 hours later, Alan and Samantha waited in the station's main conference room. Professor Frank Miller and Greg Powell, now a commander, had joined them. The Garcia family had been invited but had declined, though they sent their regards to Voros through a video message. The door opened and Ambassador Alara entered alone. Alan barely recognized her. The being before them retained the basic crystalline structure of the Luminari, but the similarities ended there. Alara's body was now a complex arrangement of transparent and opaque sections. The light within her no longer flowed freely, but seemed channeled through specific pathways. The sharp edges that had begun to form during her stay on Earth had evolved into precisely angled planes that reflected light in calculated patterns. Dr. Bennett, Admiral Wright. "It is good to see you again," Alara said. Her voice still carried harmonic qualities but now contained deeper resonances that seemed to vibrate in the human's bones. "Ambassador," Alan replied, trying to hide his shock. "Welcome back to Earth." Alara moved to the window overlooking Earth. "Your world has progressed quickly. 17 new treaties with other civilizations, a functioning defense grid, colonies on Mars. Impressive for 5 years. We had good motivation after the Vrax," Samantha said. "And you? We've heard stories." Ilara's colors shifted slightly, the equivalent of a human smile. "I imagine you have. The transformation your world witnessed in us has spread throughout Luminary society." "Was there resistance?" Frank asked. He had studied cultural revolutions throughout human history and couldn't imagine such change coming peacefully. "Initially, yes," Alara acknowledged. "The Council of Harmony declared us contaminated and attempted to isolate us upon our return. They feared we had abandoned our peaceful nature." "What happened?" Alan asked quietly. "We showed them what we had learned," Alara said simply. Not just defensive strategies or tactical thinking, but the fundamental insight that true peace requires strength to endure. Those who cannot protect themselves will always be at the mercy of those who can. Ilara explained how the 6 delegates had gradually convinced others, demonstrating how their new approach didn't require violence but merely the capacity for it. Within 2 years, most luminari had begun their own transformations. Their once isolated civilization started establishing clear boundaries with potential aggressors while offering genuine friendship to peaceful species. The Vraks have not conducted a raid in 4 years, Ilara noted. Not because we destroyed their ships, but because we demonstrated what would happen if they continued. They now trade fairly with 3 systems they previously plundered. You've changed the balance of power. In the galaxy, Samantha observed. We restored balance, Ilara corrected. Before, aggressors knew they could target certain species without consequence. Now, uncertainty protects those who once seemed vulnerable. As the meeting continued, Alan noticed subtle changes in how Ilara spoke about humans. There was new respect, in her harmonics and something else, a sense of genuine gratitude. We came to study your contradictions, she told them. We stayed to learn your wisdom, we left to apply what we learned. And now we return to thank you and offer a formal alliance. Alliance? Samantha asked, instantly alert. What kind? 1. Of mutual benefit. We will share technologies suitable for your development level. You will share your unique human perspective on balancing peace with protection. Together, we can establish safe trade routes and exploration opportunities that benefit all peaceful civilizations. Later, after the formal agreements had been signed and Ilara had departed to speak with Earth's Leadership Council, Alan and Samantha stood again at the window watching ships move through space. Do you regret it? Samantha asked. Showing them our defensive thinking? Creating what some are calling the most formidable species in known space? Alan thought about it carefully. They were never truly peaceful before, just helpless. True peace comes from choice, not inability. The Luminari now choose peace while being fully capable of something else. That's a profound difference. The galaxy seems safer with them patrolling it, Samantha admitted. Maybe that's the greatest lesson humans taught them, Alan said. Not how to fight, but when not to, while making sure everyone knows you could, if necessary. On the Luminari vessel, Ilara communicated with Zephyra, Torin, Voros, and the other delegates who had visited Earth. All had risen to leadership positions in the transformed Luminari society. Their experiences on Earth had made them uniquely qualified to guide their people through their evolution. The humans accepted our alliance, she informed them. They show no fear of what we have become. Why would they? Torin replied, his harmonics carrying a trace of what might have been amusement. They made us in their image. Not entirely, Voros corrected. We remain Luminari in our desire for harmony. We simply understand now that harmony must sometimes be enforced. Ilara looked out at Earth growing smaller as their ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel. 3 months among humans changed us forever. Now we will spend centuries changing the galaxy, not through conquest, but through the paradox humans embody so well. What paradox is that? Asked Zephyra. That sometimes, Ilara replied, her crystalline form gleaming with controlled power. The most peaceful beings must also be the most feared. As the luminary ship disappeared into the depths of space, a new saying began to spread among the stars. Make friends with humans if you wish. Learn from them if you must. But never, ever, teach them your weaknesses. The most peaceful species in the galaxy had indeed become the most feared, not because they waged war, but because they had mastered the human art of making war unnecessary through the mere possibility of its consequences. And in doing so, they had perhaps created something the galaxy had never truly known before: genuine peace.